Jamie Collins, psychic medium. Welcome to the Spirit Speaker KC podcast. I'm glad that you could join me this evening. I am going to talk about something that's been brought up to me a couple times. And one of the things that I've dealt with in the past, or even sometimes periodically. And it's when our mediumship feels off. And what I mean by off is the readings just don't seem to have that flow. You don't seem to be making that connection that you normally make. It just feels off. And I don't think it's in mediumship. I think sometimes it's in life in general, whether it's your 9 to 5 job, a relationship. I mean, it could be anything actually. And something just feels off. But in mediumship in particular, this is just when your readings aren't flowing. You don't feel as positive about those sessions that you normally do. And so I thought I would just give you a few things that I think you and what I've done when this has happened, and what we can do about it when it does happen. And one of the first things that I will do when I'm feeling like what's going on with my sessions, how come I don't feel as positive about them that I normally do, is I will record my sessions. And I don't care if it's just audio, that's all I need, or video, it doesn't really matter, but record your sessions. Because I think sometimes we're thinking one thing during a reading, and then we will listen back, or this is before we record. We're thinking one thing with a session, but you don't remember everything. I think I've told y'all, or I tell people all the time, I don't remember my sessions, or I may remember bits and pieces about the session. But I have found one of the best ways to really get a feel for what's going on in a session is to record them. And because you may be thinking, oh, that's not so good. And then you go back and you listen to it and you're like, oh, okay. Or maybe it was something about the sitter, not that I'm blaming the sitter, but maybe it was something about the sitter. Because remember, we talk about mediumship being a three-way communication. It's yourself, it's the sitter, it's spirit. And if one of those things are off, it can feel like a struggle. I don't ever feel like spirit is off per se. So I look at myself, or maybe it's the sitter. And what I mean by that with the sitter, it's not picking on the sitter. It just may be you have a difficult sitter, meaning they're a cynic, or maybe you get a skeptic. And so that energy in that session can create where that reading doesn't have the flow that you would like. So, one of the things is record your session. Okay, that's a perfect way to kind of go back and check to see what's going on. And I mean, not one or two. I mean, maybe for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, you get 5, 10 recordings and you're listening to them. Number two, another way what to do about it is get back to the fundamentals. It's kind of like, as you all know, I love sports, and athletes, professional athletes, all the time, they will have a slump or go through a tough stretch. And you will hear them say, I need to get back to the fundamentals. What does that mean? That means going back to the very beginning. Like, am I getting man, woman, child? Am I getting personality? Am I giving evidence? Fundamentals. We won't get into that now, here. But if you're a practicing medium and even a developing medium and you know about the fundamentals, getting back to the fundamentals. Am I using the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience? Am I using those in the way that I need to? And sometimes, we get caught up in exercises and practice and this technique and new technique, and we forget about the fundamentals. So you record your sessions. Next is get back to the fundamentals. Get back to the fundamentals. And I've had to do this sometimes, myself. You forget, you get reading and you keep doing all these different things and you forget to go back to the basics, just the very basics of mediumship. So that's something else that we can do. Another thing is to take a class, a workshop. Maybe you've been doing your mediumship, your readings the same way for 2, 3, 4 years. And maybe it's time to get a fresh approach, a new approach, maybe something that you had forgotten about, something new. Maybe there's a new technique that will take your mediumship to the next level. So sometimes it's good to take a class, a workshop, and to learn something. It's kind of keeping it fresh. It's doing something different than that you haven't done before. And I do this to this day, even though I've been practicing mediumship for almost 15 years. I tell students all the time, I'm always taking a class or I'm always reading a book about mediumship because I don't ever feel like there's a finish line, that I know it all, that, after 5 years or 10 years, this, that, oh, I know it all. I don't ever feel like I'm ever learning it all, that there is a finish line. So I'm a person that loves to take classes from different teachers, get different perspectives. Yes, fundamentally in the basics, they're all the same thing, but there may be techniques that different teachers have, or the way that they present the information is like, oh, and a light bulb goes off and you're like, okay, I never thought of it that way. It's kind of the same thing, but as I've been taught, but it was told in a different way and that resonates with you. So I'm a big believer in, sometimes if you're feeling off and it's been a while since you've had a class or a workshop, to to take a class or read a book, um maybe even a mentor, find that person, a mentorship where you get that one-on-one individualized attention. It's not always in a class. Sometimes we just need people to work with us one-on-one. You can get that individualized attention that sometimes you can't get in a class. So that's another way. I love to take classes. I love to read books. And this is because I'm looking for something fresh or something new. Okay. And this is for when you've been doing it the same way for 2, 3, 4 years. And you'll just know. I always say when you're feeling off, you'll just kind of know that you're feeling off. And this is just a way to freshen it up, spice it up a little bit, is to take a class, get a mentor. That's what I do. That's what I'm a believer in. Because I'm also a believer we can get into mediumship habits. You know, we can all kind of get into these habits where during our readings, we're kind of doing it that way in every session. And let's face it, every session should be different. But we all, myself included, will sometime get in mediumship habits. And what do I mean by habits? Maybe you always give how the person passed. You just telling us how that person transitioned to the spirit world. Well, maybe you're in a session and spirit doesn't want to talk about how they passed. Maybe it's not important, but it's a habit. We're habit. We do that. Maybe you always give the age of someone, and maybe the age really isn't important. Because remember, it's not our habits and what we're used to giving really, if we're blending and connecting with spirit, we may have a spirit who doesn't want to talk about the way that they passed or what their age is. It's not important. So we have to be willing to stretch ourselves and get out of those mediumship habits. That's what I mean. So I would always say kind of test yourself. Back when I mentioned that, record your sessions, listen to your sessions. Are you doing the same thing in every session? Are you giving the same types of information in every session? So just remember, that's just one of those things that gives us pause and makes us think about. Don't get into those mediumship habits, and it's real easy to get into to do if you don't check yourself. And so I'm a big proponent, even if you're not having off, if you're off in your mediumship, in recording your sessions and going back and looking at them. I really feel like it helps. You get a lot of feedback from there. um Another way is sometimes when our mediumship is feeling off, I've done this. Take some time off, step away. If you're not full time and maybe you have an 8 to 5 job, maybe you have a family and kids and you've got too much going on, your life is just kind of chaotic and all over the place, take some time off. Just step away. And there's no set time that's perfect. It's going to be different for everyone. Take a week off, take 2 weeks off, take a month off, take 6 months off. But I'm a believer that sometimes you have to step away. And periodically throughout the year, I'll take time off. I'll take 2 or 3 weeks off where I just step away. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything mediumistically. I'm not reading about it. I'm not trying to connect with spirit. I'm not doing sessions. It's just kind of a way for me to be human, to live my life without always trying to connect. And sometimes it may be just as simple as that. Maybe you don't need a class. Maybe you don't need to go back and listen to your sessions, even though I will disagree with that. I think we should always listening to our sessions. It's just a good practice to have. But I really believe sometimes we have to step away. And this isn't even about our mediumship. We talk about this in our everyday life. If you, as I said, you've got a million and one logs in the fire and you're kind of reevaluating your life and you're like, okay, something's got to give. I've got to pull back a little bit. And so I'm a big believer in sometimes just take some time off from mediumship. Just step away from giving readings and get back to that place where you miss it. You're excited to get back to it. Maybe you've been going for 6 months or a year and you haven't given yourself a break. And you're just like, that's when it's good to step back. I think another thing that's really we have to keep in mind as well when we're having those struggles or we're feeling off in our mediumship. I think sometimes that's when spirit is kind of taking us to the next level, that there's something that we need to learn. And if we're not paying attention to it, uh, we'll get distracted if we're not paying attention to it. And I'm a believer that we can take all the classes, we can read all the books, but the best teacher is going to be spirit. It's kind of like advice from loved ones or friends. They say, do this and do that and do this, but really, experience is that best teacher. Well, it's kind of the same way when you're working with spirit. Sometimes if you're off or you're struggling, I will sometimes think, okay, spirit, what are you trying to show me? You're trying to level me up or move me to the next level. What is it I'm not getting? And so that's when I will then sit and spend some time with spirit. So I'm taking some time off. and maybe I'm having those struggles, and this is when I'll just sit with spirit. I'm not I'm not really trying to connect. This is more with of me having a conversation with my spirit helpers, because we all have spirit helpers. We have guides who are helping us. I believe we have mediumship guides that are helping us. And so this is when I'll just sit 20 or 30 minutes a day and talk to spirit, have a conversation like, what's going on? Meditate. And get a feel, use your intuition. What am I missing? What am I not getting? Is there something? And it doesn't mean that there's always going to be spirit saying you're doing this wrong or anything. It might just simply be you need to take some time off. You need to step away. And I will even get that way sometimes, people are running to schedule readings, and you've got this going on, and I have a 9 to 5, and I've got work going on, and I've got this going on, I've got circle, and I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to step away, and I'm going to use that time, just to kind of recharge my battery, to step away, to miss the mediumship. Sometimes I want to be able to miss it, and I'll know sometimes if I'm doing too much, because I'll have a session or two scheduled, and I'll be like, oh gosh, oh, I've got a reading today. And you don't want to feel that way. And that's just a good indicator for me that it's time to take some time off. So don't be afraid to take time off. Don't be afraid to spend time with spirit, in meditation, journaling, any of those kinds of things. So I believe this happens to everyone. I don't think this is unique to any one person, any medium out there. But if you're a practicing medium and you've gone at it for a while, I promise there will be times when you go, "What in the world is going on? My mediumship is off. It's not flowing. I'm not connecting. I don't feel spirit. What's going on?" And so just to review quickly, it's record your sessions. Okay, record them. And this is when you're off or not off. I really feel like it's important to go back and listen to your sessions. Um, get back to the fundamentals. Are you overdoing it? Or are you trying to do something you shouldn't do? It's like that athlete who's always trying to hit home runs instead of just hitting the ball into play. So get back to the fundamentals. Are you doing too much? Listening to your recordings will let you know that. Take a class, get a mentor, get a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of ears, learn a new technique, learn a way of doing mediumship in a different way. Again, I believe basically all teachers, mentors, we're all teaching the same thing, but we all teach it in a different way. And you may resonate with one teacher that it didn't resonate with another. Doesn't mean it's good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just different. So find a teacher, a workshop, a class, a teacher, a mentor. Take some time off, step away. Maybe it's just as simple as that. You've been going, and you just need some time off. I know when I used to do a lot more expos and fairs than I do now, it would become hectic, and I would take a week or 2 weeks off where nothing. So don't be afraid to just step back and take some time off. It literally sometimes can be that simple. You just need to step away. And then finally, just spending some time with spirit, just going into meditation, really sitting and listening to that inner guidance of yourself, that inner guidance that spirit comes to us with. Because I know spirit, we are that ambassador for spirit, that medium for spirit, and they want us to be at our highest and best good. And sometimes just sitting with them, you'll be surprised at what will come through to help you to take your mediumship, get it back on track, and take it to the next level. All right. I hope that helps. If you have questions or comments about this, I would love to know it, but I promise it affects everyone. Don't be afraid to take some time off. Thank you for being here this evening. Don't forget to go to my YouTube channel at Spirit Speaker KC. Like and subscribe. If you ever have any questions, comments, or things you would like for me to discuss, please don't be afraid to let me know. Also, don't forget, I am on Spotify. Thank you. I hope that this topic really resonated with you today in case there are times you're feeling off. And I will see you next time. Thank you.